UUJusticePA, and we're here with Reverend Joan Sabatino, who's the director of UUJusticePA. And in this meeting, which is happening on July 2nd, 2024, we have good news. This may be the only time you get good news this week, politically speaking. And I'll turn it over to um, Rabbi Michael Pollack, who's the executive director of March on Harrisburg. I think that's your title. And he can tell you what the good news is and how it happened and why it matters.
Sure thing. Yeah, good to see everybody. And I'm going to tell the political story first, and then I'll tell the policy story. So we'll talk about kind of how this happened and then what exactly did happen. So how this happened, March on Harrisburg, we of course, the gift ban is one of our primary goals. We've been pushing for it for a while, and we've built up pressure over it. And but of course, we have other goals as March on Harrisburg. We have our entire Money Out People in Policy platform, 23 policies that will get us to a functional democracy. And there's 22 things on there that are not the gift ban. So we have, many interests because we know that building a democracy and making corruption illegal, there's no silver bullet. It's not just ending gerrymandering or gift ban or campaign finance reform or ranked choice voting or same-day voter registration or early voting, so on and so on, right? There's a lot of work to be done. And so March on Harrisburg, we're always pushing everything forward at the same time. And so we pushed the gift ban, we pushed it starting, of course, previous sessions, but again, this session in 2023. And the first action taken on that bill in 2023 was the Speaker of the House burying it in the wrong committee. And that took us from about March into early July to get it from the wrong committee to the right committee. This was a move of obstruction, very frustrating. We pushed through it and got it resolved. It's in the right committee at this point. This is by the time they leave for basically this time last year, this time 1 year ago, it got sent to the right committee. And the committee chair told us, I'm going to pass it, I'm going to pass it, I'm going to pass it. Nobody's going to stop me. But then a member of leadership went and stopped the committee chair and said, you better not pass this. If you pass this, we're going to be very upset with you. Do not pass this for the love of God. Don't let this happen. So December is rolling around. The bill is not moving. Committee chair keeps telling us it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's becoming clear to us that it's not going to happen. So we start ramping up some pressure on the House Majority Leader at this point, knowing that this obstruction is coming from above the committee chair's head. This is not, they're just kind of holding the line. So we start doing some flyering in the district of the House Majority Leader, and some other things to kind of ramp up some pressure. And we get to the negotiating table, and we're told, we can't do the gift ban. If we do the gift ban, it's going to fracture our caucus in half. There's sorry, there's about 20 to 30 or so House Democrats who would rather die than let this happen. We heard from another source that one of them went so far as to say that they would go on sick leave for an entire year for the rest of session and just shut down the entire state house because it would be 101 to 101. And in that case, the house can't function, won't function. It could function. It would choose not to function. And then there would just be no state house for an entire year. And so we heard all this. We pushed back and we said what you say to a member of leadership, which is that's your problem, not ours. You got to deal with your members. That's your job. That's what you do every day. You get your caucus in line. And they tried to negotiate around the edges of the bill, and there wasn't really much left for us to negotiate. They tried to claw out concert tickets and sports tickets was the last kind of straw for us, and we can't go beyond that. And for those who don't know, by the way, the gift ban, it's legal to give unlimited gifts in Pennsylvania to our public officials. So lobbyists routinely give them concert and sports tickets, Bahamas vacations, Clarence Thomas type of stuff, for those who follow the national scene. And uh, we reached this impasse where it was basically us saying, okay, we're going to come after you. We're going to, tell the story. We're going to go public here. We're going to protest. We're going to do everything we do. And them saying, let's meet again. So we met again. This is early January at this point of this year. And we came ready to negotiate and we cut a deal. And the deal was we're going to back off the house on the gift ban. And I'm sorry, let me actually before I give the deal, just to give a sense of kind of the power and reputation that Carol and other people have built up over time for March on Harrisburg. We were able to have a lot of effective carrots and sticks in the negotiation. So the main one was we're not going to protest, or we will protest, right? That choice that they have, we're either going to come after you or not. And luckily, we've been doing this long enough now that people who are in leadership now rose through the ranks and have seen us in action a lot. So we do have a good reputation built over years when it comes to direct action, and the fear of that was a big factor at the table. And along with that, the reward of putting our energy not toward the House Democrats, but instead toward the Senate Republicans. We made it very clear we're a moving train. You're standing on the tracks right now. Why? The Senate Republicans are right behind you and they're happy to stand on the tracks. Why are you standing there? Move aside and let us go after the obstruction, because if you're the obstruction, it's going to be you. And then we also tossed out, that we do a voter contact project with the Poor People's Campaign. And right now, our people can't tell the difference between you and them, meaning the Democrats and the Republicans. And that we're going to ask people to go do the work and they're going to laugh at us and they're not going to get out of bed and the work just isn't going to get done. And so you need to give us more to differentiate yourself from them. You need to make yourself distinct from them. And so kind of all those, I think I'm forgetting one other point we made, but anyway, we built up that leverage and we made the deal. And the deal was we're going to back off the gift ban for this session on the House side publicly if you pass these four things. And the four things that we agreed to were the bill that just passed on Monday, the dark money bill. We'll go into that. The second one was campaign contribution limits, which were moved from yes to maybe in March. Republicans say no, Democrats say maybe. It's a big difference between the two parties. And maybe means no. So they removed that from the deal in March, which we were not happy about. And then two bills from our Poor People's Campaign allies, so that we could we've really been trying to build that joint campaigning within the Capitol this year with our Poor People's Campaign friends. So student lunch debt cancellation, which passed on Monday as well through the full House. And then driver's licenses for all, which has been a priority for MILPA and our immigration friends for a long time. That one got pulled. So they finished 2 for 4 on the deal. We got the dark money ban through, and we got student lunch debt cancellation through, and then campaign contribution limits and driver's licenses didn't happen. Driver's licenses didn't happen essentially because they don't have the votes. There's about 10 to 15 Democrats who are a no vote on that issue, and there weren't enough Republicans to make up for it. So it just didn't happen. So that's how we got those two things through on Monday, and it's on to the Senate. What those things are. So they are first, student lunch debt cancellation. It's very simple. There's $80 million worth of student lunch debt in Pennsylvania. Kids who the limits for who gets free meals are extremely low, just like all of our poverty measures are not tied to reality in any way. So there's a lot of kids who can't afford lunch who get put into debt, who don't qualify for the free lunch and get put into debt. So this has been a priority for the debt collective, and we were able to help push it forward. And then the dark money bill. Okay, any questions? I'll pause there for a sec before I go into the policy. Please.
I'm sorry, I'm Lynn, and I'm kind of new to all of this. Could you just say a little bit, explain what the license thing is?
Yeah, absolutely. So before the Patriot Act in 2001, Undocumented immigrants were allowed to have driver's licenses. And
Okay,
the Patriot Act kind of threw that out. And since then, states have been passing their own bills, their own laws to make this law again.
okay.
Most states have done it. Pennsylvania has not. We're pretty far behind, which we are in most things. And all it does is just allow undocumented immigrants to have a driver's license. It doesn't mean you can vote, doesn't mean anything other than you can safely be on the road. Because first of all, it's just a simple moral and compassion thing, right? You don't want people driving on the road with a fear of deportation hanging over them if they run a stop sign or something. And then it's also a huge public safety issue. There's a lot of hit and runs because people, if they hang around, they could get deported. So of course people don't. And it just creates a lot of bad scenes. And then of course, undocumented immigrants are human beings who drive to work and drive for fun and drive around and whatnot. And it's better if everybody is licensed and insured. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Um, and they just had a MILPA and that coalition, the Driving PA4 coalition, just had a rally on Thursday. It's been a 10-year fight now. That was their 10-year anniversary fight. So yeah,
Michael, excuse me, before you move on to your next segment, which I'm very eager to hear, I forgot to mention something real quick. After our visit with Michael is done, there'll be um, more time for questions after Michael, finishes his next segment. But I want to leave some time at the end of our hour. This is going to be an hour-long call total. I want to leave maybe 10 minutes or so at the end of the hour to talk about what has happened with Fair District PA's bills to get an independent redistricting commission. So I'll give an update on that for those of you who may not have heard about. But back to you, Michael.
sounds good. Oh, Brian, sounds good. Good to be with you, while we can. And yeah, let's definitely, you're on our Slack now, I think. So we're connected. Excellent. Okay, so this bill, what it does. Um, I'm going to take a step back and approach this from a distance here to help give it context. So first of all, please stay with this. This kind of stuff is intentionally complicated because the people who design these systems for how to get money into politics, they don't want us to understand them. This stuff is meant to be understood by a small group of lawyers and politicians and campaign advisors, and it's not to be understood by the people on this call. So please do stay with us and ask questions, and we can go back and define anything that we need to, and all of that. So the Citizens United Supreme Court case in 2010 decided that corporations can spend unlimited amounts of money influencing our elections. They're not allowed to give campaign contributions in Pennsylvania, so they can't contribute to your campaign directly. But what they can do is they can spend money, it's called dark money or super PAC spending or independent political expenditures. These are all kind of the same, within the same category here. And that money can be used to influence elections, to support or defeat candidates. So, for example, Shell Oil can give money to the Chamber of Commerce to then run ads that attack a candidate that Shell Oil doesn't like. And you would never know even that Shell Oil is behind it because all you see is the Chamber of Commerce. Or usually what you see is Pennsylvanians for a Better Pennsylvania, something that sounds meaningless because it is, right? These shell nonprofit groups. And so what this bill does is, so I'm sorry. So Citizens United made that decision that corporations can spend unlimited amounts influencing our elections. And their logic was that a corporation is an association of citizens. That's the phrase they use. A corporation is an association of citizens. But they're not, though, because a multinational corporation is an association of citizens plus non-citizens, people from other countries. So if you look at who owns Uber, the rideshare company Uber, and you look at who their investors are, who their owners are, there's a good amount of US citizens in there, but there's also the Saudi royal family. And so the Saudi royal family is not allowed to spend on US elections, but they can buy a stake in Uber and then pump $57 million into a ballot measure fight in California to keep our car dependent culture alive and the oil flowing, which is the Saudi interest. So what you have is multinational corporations, big ones, that have significant foreign investment that are spending unlimited amounts of money influencing Pennsylvania elections. And this bill says, no, they can't do that anymore. These foreign influenced multinational corporations are not allowed to spend unlimited amounts of money, any money, influencing our elections. They can't give to super PACs or do dark money 501c4 spending or spend it themselves. They're cut out. And because we have such a globalized economy, the vast majority of big corporations are foreign influenced corporations. 98% of the Fortune 500 falls into this category. So this bill says 98% of the Fortune 500, no more political spending. You can't give money from Home Depot to the NRA to then spend to influence our elections. You can't do that anymore. So this is a really big thing that can be a little wonky. It's not as easy to understand as the gift ban for sure, but the impact is significantly bigger. This is a larger dollar amount in a big way. Was that, yeah, questions, Carol?
What are they mostly going after, Michael? You said gas and oil, guns. What else are they mostly going for?
Everything. So this bill touches every big corporate interest because it affects every big multinational corporation. One that I just learned today, Aqua. Does anybody here have a water supplied by Aqua? Yep. I do too. I live in Montgomery County now. Aqua has been buying up municipal water supplies for the last couple of years, and then they jack up the rates. And Aqua is a foreign influence corporation. It's substantially owned by non-US entities, so it qualifies here. And we can't say for sure that Aqua is spending money influencing elections, but they definitely are. They're doing it through dark money groups, through the Chamber of Commerce and so on. So Aqua has a huge stake in Pennsylvania water supplies. That's their business. And if they can influence our public officials, well, they already have, right? They won. They're allowed to do this. We passed two laws during the reign of Sarnadi and Karzai that allowed them to do what they're doing right now.
So my,
And so, anyone hearing an echo?
people who are not speaking to mute because there's a lot of feedback coming through.
Is that good? Test. Yeah. So really,
if I can interrupt, I couldn't get in. They said it was a bad site, and maybe that's causing the noises.
but Reverend John.
Well, we're glad you're here now, Sandy. It was a bad link that caused the problem. So I don't think that, and we've had good audio up until just now. So I think we're all right.
I just think if we all mute if we're not speaking.
And Carol, just to keep going with the question. I'm sorry, Reverend John.
No, go ahead.
Every issue is affected by this. Every single one, even levels of even issues of war and peace. This is how APAC functions. APAC takes in big corporate money and spends it influencing elections. This is how the NRA operates. This is how every major corporation plays in our system. This is dark money. This is super PAC money.
Follow-up question.
Everything.
Follow-up question. How many state bills like this that can manage this dark money?
Yeah, so this law exists in Maine and Minnesota, and then it exists in Seattle, Washington, and San Jose, California. So two states have it, and then two big cities have it. And it passed through the Hawaii State Senate this year and then failed in their House. And it's pending. It's been introduced in a number of other states as well. But yeah, Minnesota was the trailblazer on this and did a great job. And then the people who wrote the Minnesota policy helped us write the bill here in Pennsylvania. Which, by the way, this is maybe too much information, but just it is so hard to work on Pennsylvania's election law. It is so ancient and out of date and complicated and convoluted that the process of just taking the Minnesota bill and placing it into Pennsylvania law, making it make sense within our legal setup, that took about 2 months. That was not simple. It is not. Yeah, and this, if this passed into law, as far as we can tell, this is the biggest advancement in money in politics since at least the 1970s, when lobbyists had to start registering. That was the beginning. Before then, we had no idea how many lobbyists there were. And then probably the biggest thing on direct money in politics since corporate campaign contributions were outlawed a century ago. Right. And corporations already can't give to a campaign, so why can they spend on our elections, especially the multinational ones? And we're just doing the Supreme Court a favor here, by the way, by cleaning up a mess that they created. They created a contradiction where they said corporations can spend on politics, but foreign entities cannot. And so all this is doing is hammering out that contradiction that says, well, what about foreign influenced corporations? Should be no. So the next steps with this, it's going to the Senate. It passed the House on Monday, so it's on to the Senate. We have no promises or guarantees from anybody in Senate leadership that this is going to, that it's going to get a vote or anything like that. It was a bipartisan vote coming out of the House. It's a pretty politically tough thing to vote against. We heard some comments from some GOP reps about, I can't go home and tell people that I voted against foreign entities influencing our elections. That's a pretty hard thing to say no to publicly in any sense. So there's decent. We're getting the word out in the Senate, and we're doing a lobbying training next Friday. So if people want to take on some lobbying for this over the summer, we're doing it. March in Harrisburg, people are taking on as many as we can, and then other groups are stepping up and claiming, this senator or those three senators or whatever, and all together as a statewide movement, we're gonna go through the whole Senate this summer. And then, build up pressure in district as well. In Westmoreland County and Indiana County, we're doing a billboarding and a flyering day at the end of July. And I'll definitely be sure to get this info so that it gets into all the UU, information. And then we're going to be doing the march, the big march, September 13th to the 15th, from Lancaster to Harrisburg, and then nonviolent direct action on September 16th and 17th in the state capitol. And so please, as always, join, plug in however you want to. If anybody wants to take on a snack or a meal or ride a vehicle support or, commit to marching or show up in the Capitol and risk arrest, or not risk arrest, but just support the action, please just let me know. Yeah.
So Michael, have the Senate Republicans publicly said anything about this bill?
Nope. We kept this one kind of quiet. We didn't want the Chamber of Commerce to have time to mobilize an opposition in the House. So we kind of kept this one pretty quiet, to the point where it wasn't sunshined until the Friday before the Monday morning committee vote. So people really only had a couple days to read the bill, and not even work days, which isn't a great way of doing things, by the way, but it has been helpful here. So the opposition hasn't mobilized so much. One opposition did mobilize briefly, which was very upsetting. An APAC-like organization showed up. Could have been them, could have been someone else with their interests, but they tried to basically gut the bill, which is not good. Um, ooh, excellent. And then, sorry, Carolyn, you sent this message to me directly, but I'm just going to address it out loud if that's okay. Yeah, God, okay, great to do a lunch. I reached out to Steve Snell last week, and I think he was going to organize all the York people to get a meal together.
Yeah,
But I think he's in Alaska right now, right?
he is in
Yes.
Alaska, but yeah, I said
Yeah.
I'll organize a lunch on that Sunday. I said I had emailed that a couple weeks ago. So anyway,
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Let me make a note of that right now, just so we have it.
Michael, who else are groups that are supportive of what, with you doing this?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Sunday lunch, March. Carol, that sounds amazing, by the way. Just to jump back to lunch for a second, I'm very excited. There's a Romanian church that's going to be doing lunch on Saturday, and they are making just the most incredible food. But they don't have a concept of vegan or gluten-free, so it's been really fun, and we're gonna get them there. We'll have food for everybody. Anyway, sorry. So Tom, who else is working on this? So we on the policy side of things, our main partner has been a group called Free Speech for People. It's a national group. They're the ones who wrote the original bill in Seattle and Minnesota. And they've been very, very, very helpful in doing this. And then here in Pennsylvania, oh, our buckets of allies. So first we have the democracy groups. So Common Cause is jumping into this one. We're trying to really steer fair districts toward putting some effort into this over the summer, and the League of Women Voters as well. Forward Party, we're trying to kind of push in this direction as well. And then other buckets of allies, the Poor People's Campaign. So the Poor People's Campaign, we've been really moving through the legislature together this session, which has been really a new thing for us and a really great thing. And it's been, MEALPA, March on Harrisburg, and the Debt Collective kind of were able to join together. And so we're going to be pushing everything into September as well together. So we're going to be pushing student lunch debt cancellation alongside this bill, and then also put people first. Got the adult dental benefit back into Medicaid. That bill already passed the House. So we have 3 Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign bills that have passed the House and are being blocked by the Senate right now. So we're moving forward together there. And then just, our usual constellation of allies. A lot of environmental groups, especially in Western Pennsylvania, are jumping into this because one thing that happens is fossil fuel groups give to other groups that then influence our elections. So much so, actually, in Pennsylvania, we actually have other states have this too, but corporations don't just spend on independent dark money spending, but they can also give campaign contributions through a dark money group called the Democratic Governors Association or the Republican Governors Association. And so Consol Energy, CNX, Shell Oil, Exxon, Range Resources, all of these big multinational fossil fuel companies, they do this. They spend this money. And so the environmental groups are very aware of this and very much on board. And then we'll get the railroad teamsters out too in September, on the march. And then who else? We're going to get some additional union support this time around as well in September. We're hopeful that AFSCME is going to show up in numbers for this. And yeah, it's not an exhaustive list. I'm definitely forgetting folks. But yeah, and then just all the small groups all over the state. There's so many small groups that just fight their local fights in our local community organizations. And then, of course, UUJusticePA, which is a Poor People's Campaign group, a democracy group, and just kind of fits into every bucket that we organize. Yeah.
Michael, what was the weekend again that you said? Was it
Yeah.
the September 13th?
Friday, September 13th, we're going to leave from Lancaster at around 10 a.m. and then we'll be arriving in Harrisburg Sunday evening, September 15th, with nonviolent direct action protest on Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you.
And we still have to confirm a day, but just to get everybody excited, and I hope I don't disappoint you here because it's not confirmed yet the day, but Reverend Barber said he's coming to Harrisburg in September, either the 16th or the 17th, or the following Monday or Tuesday. And we still have to nail it down, and he's an extremely busy person with a very full schedule, but he said he's in. And again, we have to talk to the person who actually controls the schedule because that's not him, and then confirm. But hopefully he'll be coming to town to help ramp up some pressure. And then the wild card of all of this is going to be Doug Mastriano, folks. Get ready. He is super on board, and that is great.
So he knows all about this?
He knows all about the bill. We're not sure how much more he knows. He knows
Okay.
about the foreign influence corporate dark money bill, and he wants those Zucker bucks out of our elections, and we're right there with him.
Okay.
Yeah, he promised us 5 votes this week. His chief of staff promised us 5 votes. Wow. And then he said, "But do you have any? Do you think you can get any Democrats on this?" So we'll try. We'll see.
Well, you know what they say about strange bedfellows in politics.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't get stranger than that.
Hey, it takes 26 votes to get through the Senate, and you got to get them from wherever you can.
Right. And I think everybody on the call here realizes that the Republicans control the Senate. So that's it's a kind of a big deal that Mastriano is on board with that. Geez, I wanted to mention something else about this.
You know, if I could real quickly make a point that
I'm hearing something only faintly in the background.
here we go. How about that? I picked
Yes.
my microphone up. You know, how many of our bills that we've worked on through the House? I mean, you know, it's how many that just get stalled in the Senate. So the fact that Mastriano is behind this is like huge, right? And strange bedfellows, yeah, but take it where you can get it. I agree with you, Michael. Go for it.
Oh yeah. The only notes that the chief of staff had on the bill was that the penalties aren't strong enough. This is only notes.
What do you think motivates that for Mastriano? Like, is it a district thing or?
No, it's very much Mastriano, the Christian fascists, they hate the corporate world as much as most people do.
Okay, all right.
They're not fans of the ruling class. They're useful tools of the ruling class, right? The classic formula is the king sits in the middle and uses the fascists to beat up the socialists in the street and kind of keep the socialists at bay, and you know, just leans into the fascists as much as they need to in order to keep the people under control, you know, in order to kind of divide and conquer them and keep them from causing trouble. And eventually the fascists will then consume the king. If you feed them too much, they then turn and just eat the whole thing. It's the story of Nazi Germany, of course, right? It's you know, Hindenburg kind of empowering Hitler a bit, and then Hitler just goes, "Oh, I can eat you. I'm going to," and did it. It's a story of Hungary. It's a story. It happens again and again. So you know, it's happening in our country right now. We
I was
have
going to say we all need to know this history more thoroughly now, right? Than we did yesterday or
right, and you
earlier
think
this
of
week.
like FDR during the New Deal era, the bankers plot to overthrow him. You know, the ruling class kind of getting together. And then the one big thing that they did coming out of the New Deal era was they realized that they'd lost the battle for the Bible. I'm sorry, Neil, are you signaling?
Yeah. I just before just because we gotta have only a little more time with you now, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. One thing I wanted you to mention, give people the bigger picture. What's the difference in sheer dollar volume in Pennsylvania between having a gift ban and having this measure go through? What's the relative weight?
Yeah, just in dollar amount, gifts are millions of dollars a year is the gift economy. This is tens of millions to hundreds of millions a year. Right, so this is just a bigger dollar amount.
Yes.
Influencing different people, right? The gifts influence the public officials. This influences the public, which also influences the public officials. And we see dark money being used to really surgically, precisely attack. It's the most precise form of attack that the donor class has, where they get to be in full control of the messaging. There's no accountability because it's completely anonymous, and they just, oh, it's vicious. Yeah, those mailers with all those lies showing up and all of that. But yeah, so anyway, Mastriano hates the corporate ruling class as much as most of us do. And so he is an unlikely ally on this because I mean, look at his campaign for governor. He spent, nothing because he raised next to nothing because they weren't going to give him a damn thing. Because he's starting to get out of control. He's starting to get beyond their control.
Exactly.
You know who his biggest donor was, right?
Pardon?
Reverend Joe knows. I just asked you, do you know who Mastriano's biggest donor was? His name is Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
By far, it's not even close. Because it's a strategy that moderate Democrats have been playing with fire with for over a decade now on a large scale, where they fund the craziest wackaloon in the other side's primary, so that's the person they get to face because they think they can beat them because they're so crazy. And ask Hillary Clinton how that went in 2016, because you're playing with fire.
They're gonna get burned.
Yep. Shapiro got lucky, but he should not have done that.
So, Michael, I know you will keep us informed on tactics between now and through September on how we can get this thing through the Senate.
Here, here. I know Ruth Thomas out in Indiana, and then who's the woman in Westmoreland? What's her name again? Maryland?
Oh, Mary Ann Devlin?
There's another person. I don't know. Frank knows. Frank Kirkwood has their info. So we're definitely going to connect with those UUs in Westmoreland and Indiana.
Okay,
That's
good.
the most important part of the state. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you very much for coming on and giving us something to be happy about.
Hey, when we fight, we win. When we organize and we win, when we fight, we win. That's it. Don't let the Supreme Court get you down. We can overthrow them.
Great. Michael, thanks again. And we'll keep on this.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you all for all you do, and always good to see you.
Great. So folks, stick around for a minute. I want to give you a quick update on Fair Districts PA. Speaking of which, I will put in the chat what their URL is, so you can get details directly from them. And the reason I'm bringing them up is, there we go. As some of you recall, Fair Districts has been on this call in the last couple of months talking about their new legislation to get independent redistricting in Pennsylvania to fight gerrymandering and to keep the politicians from being able to pick their voters rather than the voters being able to pick their politicians. So the brief update is that time has run out on their bills that they wanted to pass to get the ball rolling on getting independent redistricting in this state. to get that, you need to have a state constitutional amendment pass. And as many of you probably know, to do that, you have to pass the same bill in 2 successive legislative sessions. And they couldn't get it through this session, so they're going to hit the ground running in the next session, which starts end of November, early December. And in the meantime, they're going to be doing some tabling in the summer to get people on board with this and to inform folks. They also have a summer mapping contest, which is pretty interesting. They're asking people to submit what they think are fairer maps, better maps than we have now. And you can do this with online programming that'll teach people how to kind of do this. Pretty interesting. Again, details about this are on the Fair District's website, and that also has a new volunteer page on it. And they're looking for speakers, advocates, behind the scenes support, leadership in the state. So they're fighting the good fight. And for those of you who don't know, we on this good government team surveyed people who are in UUJusticePA, who are allies and friends. And we surveyed what topics had the most interest for people. And the top priority among those people that we surveyed was to end gerrymandering. And that's exactly what this is about for Fair District. So we definitely want to support their efforts. Any questions about that? Okay. Reverend Joan, anything you want to contribute before we sign off?
Our effort over this summer will be to get out the vote. I put a new partner up on the, no, tomorrow, a new partner will go up on our website, and I'm trying to keep things as updated as I can so people can see what's going on. And I'm fearful that some of our congregations, both small and large, especially after the Supreme Court decision, are sort of like, deer in the headlights. They're just frozen. They're just not sure what to do. And so I wrote a little blurb up there to say, we're in this together. We have to do this. And I, we vote, we win. Just like Michael said, we fight, we win. I say we vote, we win. If we could convince, enough people to come out and vote Democratic, we'll be okay. The scary thing now is, and I'll just add this in, there's no guardrails. We have to make sure we elect a Democrat, or at least a smart, fair thinker, or it could go down at any time. Whether it's not this guy, that could be the next gal. It's just really pretty darn scary. Really is. But that doesn't
Yes.
mean we stop. That means we just fight harder.
In a very negative way, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday taught us a lesson that most of us, unfortunately, had already learned, which is that they're not going to come to our rescue. So that leaves us with voting.
Right.
Voting the right people in and voting the wrong people out.
They didn't even come to our rescue. They just burned the house down.
Yeah,
set it all on fire.
They did. It was outrageous, and it was, another in a string of outrageous Supreme Court rulings just over the weekend, from Friday through Monday. It was just they seem to have no interest in giving democracy any oxygen at all.
Right. And what did you say, Lynn, when you first came on? So they say they're constitutionalists, but they just They're
They're
just,
not. They're
they're
not.
what? They're not.
They're
Yeah,
not. They made that up. That presidential immunity. There's nothing in the Constitution about that.
We could go on about this for a long time. We have 3 minutes left, if we're gonna hold to our 1 hour meeting practice, which I like to do. But so not only is there nothing in the Constitution about that, there's nothing in the Constitution that says the Supreme Court has the final say on what's constitutional or not. They just grabbed that power for themselves and nobody stopped them. So, you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say Supreme Court's the final
but
word.
we've all believed that for a long time.
Right. Well, there are probably ways that we can at least blunt their efforts, which it's not really our concern in this
Right,
specific
we're a state.
organization,
Right.
but just trying to give people hope. And, if we don't elect the right people, that's never going to happen. So,
Neil, if I could add,
yeah.
Joan, I want to say something about that sticker quickly. That
Yeah, sure.
So I made up a sticker, that 4x6 sticker that says democracy, not autocracy. And Joan has 200 of those, and she's gone to different places and handed some of them out to them. If any of you, I would think, if you thought at your congregation or somewhere you would take 5 or 10 and want to put in a couple bucks, or even not put in a couple bucks, and ask Joan for those, that you could help hand them out, so that over the next year or 2 or 3, because this isn't going to be over in one election cycle, we're going to have this fight for years and years. So
Yeah, I agree.
Joan, would you bring some to our church
I
on
was
Sunday?
going to say, would you
come
like me to bring
say?
some, Carol?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
I will do that.
that'd be great.
I will do that. I will do that.
That's great. Thank you very much for doing that, Tom.
Yeah,
Good.
Tom, you've always been great
It's,
about that.
it's your follow-up to democracy is not a spectator sport.
It is. This is his new
Yes.
slogan, and it's great.
yes,
Great.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Thanks everybody for being on.
Thank you. for
Neil,
being-
you're
Get out the
Lynn, you're
vote.
muted. Are you trying to say something? I see lips moving, but I don't hear anything. So
Can
I
you hear
hear-
me,
I hear
Joan?
Sorry.
Neil,
I was just gonna ask if we could, since we're geographically not aligned, is it possible to put that online, that we could download it and print it ourselves?
I'll mail them to you. Just tell me you want them.
Okay, I want them.
Direct. What congregation are you with?
I'm with UU of Church of Washington Crossing.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
We're half Pensy, half
Yeah.
Jersey.
And Leslie McGeorge is your
Yes.
liaison, and I'll send them to her.
Yeah,
I'll
could
tell
I,
her.
could I, there's a meeting going on while this one is going on. But then there's a lot of people in that one, I think. But it has to do with the Middle East, and you can understand. But I am from the UUs of Mount Airy Church. And yeah, I think we'd like them too, but I'm not an officer.
I think Tim has some.
Does
Everybody
Tim?
on everybody on the board got some, so Tim should have them.
Okay, I'll ask him. And we need, a lot of publicity for UU to vote. And I have some real troubles with that, because if the weather is bad, or if it's way too hot, I'm 88 years old. I'm not supposed to go out in that kind of heat. And I don't have a car. So the meetings need to be right after church, when we're there. And if we can get everybody to kind of agree on that, that would be lovely. I'm dying to be able to scribble my little handwriting.
Postcards. You could grab a stack of postcards or
I've got
letters
'em.
for Vote Forward and take them home.
I don't know what to write on them.
Oh.
They're pretty specific too in some of the covers. So
We just thanks to Joan Pelk, we just got a new contact. Joan, help me out if the whole name of it. I know it's Postcards to Swing States, but there's a
Progressive Turnout Project.
Progressive Turnout Project, Postcards to Swing States, and they send you the postcards, and they Did they tell you what to say?
They give you 3 samples, but I
Okay.
didn't use any of those. I did my own.
Right, okay. But for people who need, they give
Yes.
it to you, and you're responsible for the postage. And keep in mind that postage for everything, including postcards, will go up on July 14th.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
You know who he's in love with.
Right. So, all right.
Oh, by the way, can I ask, I came in so late because I got stuck. I couldn't get in.
Okay.
And what happened there? You said, was that something that was, deliberate?
No,
No.
it was not deliberate. It was a mistake. I have to go back and look at the I don't let anything go out unless I look at it, but even I make mistakes, So there must have been a typo in the link that we sent out.
There must have been because I had to get it via Craig, who was leading the
Stevens.
other meeting, and he just pinned it in, and sent it to me, and
Good for
that
him.
was yeah
for him.
good for him.
Sorry you all had trouble. I'll try not to let that happen again.
No. Well, if your eyesight is as bad as mine, it just might, and we'll forgive you.
Thank you all. Neil, and give anything else?
Nope, I'm
All
done.
right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye,
thanks for being
everyone.
on, everybody. Go Phillies.
So, thank you.
Take care.
Go voters.
Yeah. Go.
We'll throw the Pirates in too. Okay. See ya.